Hi there guys, it's a very windy but beautiful day, and I've been out today because I'm doing a tag, and this tag is called Pay It Forward, and I was tagged some time ago. This video is way overdue, so I do apologise for that, but it's just been so hectic at the moment. I haven't really had much time to get out and film, but the season's over now and the weather's kind of turning worse, so I can go out and film again now, ironically. But yeah, Pay It Forward, the tag's called, and a guy called Ash, and his channel's called I Am Mr. Monty. He messaged me some time ago and he just said, are you still after a Maxpedition and Enemy pouch? And I said, well, yeah, I've had my eye on one, they do look quite good, and I thought it'd be good for replacing the barnacle pouch on the side of the Essie, because it just gives me a little bit more room for things. And he said, well, keep your eyes on my channel, I'm going to put a video up in a minute. And I said, alright. So I had a look at it, and he tagged me in this video, and he said some very kind words, and then a few days later a Maxpedition Enemy pouch turned up, and it was full of various bits of kit. So Ash, thank you so much for that. That's very, very kind, and I didn't expect it at all, and I appreciate you tagging me. And although the pouch isn't on my kit, and it hasn't replaced the pouch on the side of my Essie because it was slightly too you know, wide in terms of it sticking out a bit too much, it's gone to a good home, and it's actually on the tripod of my camera, my video camera, and it holds all my kit like batteries and SD cards and things and all sorts of bits and bobs, and it's strapped to the tripod, so it's gone to a good home, and it definitely serves its purpose there, I think. So thank you for that. Just gonna have to take this opportunity, I'm afraid, guys, sorry. No luck. So many wood pigeons around here. When you sit still, everything starts to show itself. It's quite nice actually. But anyway, I have a tag, obviously, and it was really difficult, and it's probably another reason why it took me so long. Just because there's so many people out there that they're giving me so much support, and have made quite a lot of friends on YouTube. It's just toying with me. It's very difficult to see through that canopy though. Yeah, there's so many people who've given me a lot of support, and I've made good friends with, and you know, a lot of these people, some of them don't even have channels where they make videos, and or they're abroad, so it's very difficult to pick. But there is someone who stuck out in my mind. They mentioned something to me, and that's Scott's Wild Camper. He doesn't know I'm doing this video, but yeah, he said he always wanted to start doing bushcraft, and I know he does a lot of sort of mountaineering and climbing, and you know, just climbing the peaks up in Scotland, up far north, and his channel's breathtaking. If you do get a chance to have a look at it, I'll put the link below, because he really does show the beauty of Scotland and some of the lovely areas around there, and yeah, it's quite amazing. He's inspired me to go out there, so in September me and my missus are going up there to do some wild camping and hiking around some of the lochs and forests and woodland up there, and yeah, I really can't wait actually. It just looks fantastic. But I've made you something, Eddie, that hopefully you'll like. It's to get you going on the bushcraft side of things. So I've put together a primitive firelighting kit for you. So Eddie, as I say, I've prepared a sort of primitive firelighting kit for you to get you going in bushcraft. And I think the first part of the kit I'll show you is a Bowdrill set that I've made. And the bearing block is in a little pouch that I'll show you in a sec. But what we've got here is two pieces of hazel. This is a hazel bow with paracord as the cord there, and I've sort of infused that with a bit of beeswax to give it some longevity and obviously some grip, and it won't slip when it gets wet, which is a great advantage of that. You've got a hazel drill. It's a nice dead piece of hazel that I found and sorted it out. so it's a good little drill there. And you've got an ivy hearth board, which is the board you're going to drill into. You've got a decent sort of start there or a great start to some bow drill or friction fire. But obviously there are a few components missing, and that's not the only sort of method of fire you can use in bushcraft. So I've got this lovely little leather pouch here. I hope you can see that all right. I'm sure you can. If I open this up, we've got a few other items now. The bearing block for your bow drill set is a piece of antler with a copper cup inside that's glued in. That won't come out, or it shouldn't do anyway. But that's quite a useful bearing block for you. And the ends are sealed with beeswax to stop water getting in. But also another part of the Bowdrill kit is a puck of beeswax for you to put on cord, any cord that you like. This is great on natural cord as well. If you've got some nettle cord, or you get some sinew, or any other kind of cord you make, once it's dry you can rub a bit of beeswax in it and it'll just keep those fibres from coming apart, a bit like a bowstring. So it's a decent set for you there to get going. But I have a few more items for you. Got some birch bark, a bit of a classic one, but unbeatable and really good. We've got some variations of birch in there. We've got some thicker stuff on the outside and some very, very thin stuff on the inside. And the thin stuff and thick stuff can be used in unison and can give you a bit of an advantage really when working with birch bark. Got some pine sap or conifer sap mixed with beeswax and a bit of charcoal. And you can use this as a glue if you like. I've put leather around it to stop it sticking, so you can unravel the leather as you go. Or you can make like little woodland matches with it, so you can melt a bit of this if you've got a fire, make some matchsticks, and they'll burn really, really well. So just a useful bit of equipment to have. You have some other bits and bobs in here. Got some western red cedar, and the inner bark is fantastic for making a nest. If you have enough of it, you can make an entire nest with the stuff. Really is very unbeatable. But also you can make the core of your nest with it. So if you have lots of dry grass or bracken or you know, honeysuckle, you know, you've got a big nest of tinder, fine material, you can make the core of the nest out of this, and it's a really good companion to the delicate ember of a bow drill to get it going. So just gives you a bit of a coal extender there because it's so full of resin. I've got you a bit of char cloth there just to play around with, and obviously char cloth's not really complete without a flint and steel these days. So you've got a nice, this was given to me actually by Outdoor Enthusiast 101. Hope he's doing well if you're out there, Luke. But I don't use it anymore because my knife does the job really of producing some good sparks, but that produces some really lovely sparks. So you've got a flint and steel set just there, a bit of char cloth to play around with. Now you've got some cramp balls as well, and we've got some artist bracket as well, part of the Ganoderma family, and this stuff is brilliant. So these two are used together. I'll show you how to use all this kit in a bit, but this can burn very quickly, not so good for carrying fire. This burns very slowly, and one of these should give you 4 to 5 hours of an ember if you carry it. You put a piece of cord through it or something, and it'll work really well. But last but not least is a very nice ferrocerium rod, fire steel for you to use. Now you might need to use the back of your knife on that. I'm not going to use this, and you're going to have the first scrape on that. All of it comes in this nice little leather pack with a bone toggle on it, piece of antler, and yeah, I think this is going to be a great little kit to get you into bushcraft. And although you are already into it, what I mean is like the fire lighting side of it. So yeah, but this brings me on to the next part of the video, sort of how to use it all, and I'll demonstrate the bow drill first, and we'll take it from there, and I'll use my kit to show you. So first things first, I'm going to prepare a nest with some of the materials that I've got here. This is some honeysuckle that I picked off a hazel tree a little while ago, and you can use the outer bark to make a nest. And a nest is basically a collection of fine material, and I'm going to scrape the western red cedar to make a dust to put in the core of the nest. But there are also other things we can put in the core of the nest. You know, we can take this these thistle seeds here, and we've got a feather as well. Some people don't like to use feathers. I find they work all right. You can put them in the core of the nest, and it just gives you sort of a better chance of, well, it gives that ember a better chance of doing what it needs to do. So I'll prepare that now. So we've got a decent nest there of material. It's not very big, but it'll do the job for the time being. And I'll just put this to one side and we'll scrape away the inside of that western red cedar and make a fine dust. So I usually put my hand there like that just to get the blade away and just scrape. You can fold that up. This is going to be a pretty pathetic little nest, but it'll do the job hopefully. I'm going to put some of this thistle seed in there, and that will just stop our western red cedar from running off. So once you've finished scraping, you can build a little nest just like that. I mean, this is a bit too small really. I'd want something a bit bigger realistically, but just for the demo that's not too bad. So now we've got a nest ready, we can go ahead and make our ember and use our Bowdrill kit. And I've got a bit of moss here, like a little sheet of sphagnum moss, just on the ground, just to raise it off the ground a bit. And this is very, very dry moss. The ground isn't wet at all and it's very dry, but if you've got wet feet and the ground's damp, you need to take all that into account really when using the Bowdrill set. It's a good day for it, it's dry, there's wind, you know, so oxygen can get to that ember quite easily. It's not too still, and there's not a lot of moisture in the air either, which is great. The first thing you're going to want to do is just lay down your hearthboard and take your drill and match the two up. So this is what I would call a double hearth, so I can have an ember each side, so I can go down this side when I've finished, I can go down that side. So it should last you a long time, but you want it to be about 1/2 centimetre in from the edge on this particular board anyway, or else you'll be running too far in, and you can use a lot more material than that. So what I'll do is I'll take my knife, place the point where I want the centre of the spindle to go, the drill, and I'll just rotate. Just make a depression, and you can use the flat of the blade to kind of scoop away, as opposed to just drilling in with the point. And that's really all you should need to do. And that drill should be able to sit in there now if you apply enough pressure, and then you can work that drill in. So the way to hold the bow is I've made a thin end and I've made a fat end, and the fat end's the handle, and on this end you actually want to hold the cord as well, and you can use your thumb to push down on the cord if the cord loosens and slips on the drill to give you a bit more tension. But what I'll do is I'll just take my puck of wax, just put a bit more wax on this piece of cord because there's not too much on it. There we are. And you can work that in with a bit of heat, and that should be ready to go. So what you can do is just take the drill. This hasn't been used yet, but it obviously will be when it arrives to you, Eddie, because I'm just testing it now, make sure it all works fine, so there's no excuses. So the domed part faces up when you're stringing it. Put it on the inside of the cord, twist, and the drill should now be on the outside of the cord, so it's not going to make contact with the bow. Yeah, and it should be about halfway up. So I'll place that on there. And if I think that it's a bit uneven, you can always get a piece of bark like that and place that on the ground. Just make the ground sort of more comfortable for you. But what I'll do, so I don't make a mess of your hearthboard, is I do have a piece of leather in here, a few bits and bobs in it. This is my pack as well, so got a pretty similar setup. And I'll just put that there like that, as not to ruin it. So if I put my foot on there, you can see I need a new pair of boots. Hold the bearing block like that with the hole just above the forearm. If you hold it the other way, you know, like that, then you're going to be using your wrist far too much, and it's going to give you, well, it's going to wear you out. So by doing that, it allows you to put a lot more pressure on it. So you want to place that on there like this and sort of steady yourself, and keep the bow as lateral as you can. You don't want to be doing this, you know, like rocking, or else this happens and it throws the drill out. So by keeping the bow very lateral, you know, like you're operating a bow saw, it stops the spindle, stops the drill kind of flying out on you. So let's just burn this in, and you want to keep your foot nice and close, not too close. And apply enough pressure, you'll get the feel of it. Okay, so that's worn in nicely now. You've matched those two, you've matched the surface area of the drill with the hearthboard, so you get a nice even area of friction. And we can put those down. If the ground was wet I wouldn't put them there, but it's nice and dry. And I'll scrape that material away. You can save it, but in this case I'll get rid of it, just so you've got a bit of a clear picture. So matched up nicely. So for the next phase you can use a knife or a saw. If you're going to use a saw, be careful, because it will tend to eat in quicker than you anticipate. But if you use a knife, it will take you a bit longer, but you can do a finer job. But to balance the two, I usually go down one side with the saw, make it a bit wider than that in a minute, and you can always drag the blade towards you. So we've gone in far enough there already. If I went any further I'd sort of be going a bit too far. And I can actually use my knife now to come in like that, a bit like a stop cut. And create the other side. But do watch your hands. So it all happens very fast really at this point. And you can smooth off the other end, so the you know, so you don't catch your ember in the V. You want it to drop down. And I'll just make that a bit wider as well. Right then. So I've probably overshot it a tiny bit, but we'll see how we get on with that. Okay, so we're going to need an ember pan, something to catch the ember. A bit of birch bark always works quite well. You can use any number of things really. I'm just going to go and find something quickly now. So use a little piece of this Western red. Put that there like that. Should be ready to go really. Make sure your bow's strung nice. Part that faces down is going to face up, inside, twist, and it should be on the outside obviously. And down we go. So, with this particular bit, you want to kind of stagger your pace a bit, so don't go full bore straight away. Start off light, medium speed, increase it gradually, increase the speed gradually, then increase the pressure gradually as well, and keep doing that until the smoke thickens and you feel like you've got enough pressure and speed. And you don't want too much of that material pouring around the outer edge of here, because that means you're probably putting too much pressure down. So keep the speed good, pressure at a sort of medium, and you should be all right. But let's give it a go. You can rotate your wrist as well. You feel like the bearing block's biting. Roll your wrist until it goes quieter. Got a little bit of slippage there. So I push down with my thumb, tighten the cord. You can probably see that I've put way too much pressure down on that, but it's okay, we can use that material. So that is an ember. That's not a very good ember. Don't know really whether this wood's a bit green. So all the material that was around the edge goes goes on to the ember, and then we just leave it. I usually avoid blowing on it because there's a lot of moisture in your breath, you know, and there's a nice breeze today, enough to keep this thing going. You know, you've got some positive smoke. So the trick now really is not to panic and just leave it really. Let it develop into a nice sort of glowing cherry, and that should be all good. But obviously your kit works fine. So you know, enough pressure, enough speed. Probably not as much pressure as I put down at all. I overcooked that. Probably should have gone more speed, slightly less pressure, but you know, we got there in the end. Take my nest. Just pad it out a bit. And let it develop. You can see it's going alright. It's kind of turning into a nice cherry, blackening up a bit. Probably a bit too close for you. So hopefully the wind doesn't ruin the day. Yeah, just get your breath back. Listen to the aeroplanes. If that sort of thing is what you're into. And that's about ready now. You can see the colour changing. You can see it glowing. Just shake him in there and encourage him in. It's a bit of a tiny nest, a bit difficult to work with. So there we are. So it's a tiny little nest, but on a dry day that would probably do you all right, really. You can obviously put more air on it when it's on the ground. Really get it going. So hopefully that's covered the Bowdrill side of things, and the principle with the nest, you know, really goes without saying for a lot of tinders that you can use like a coal that you put in a nest and blow into flame, or you can use as a cigarette lighter. But the other two we'll have a look at is the Crumple. This is quite a nice large one. This is one of mine, I won't use one of yours. And the artist bracket, Ganoderma family. So I'm going to use the fire steel to get the Crumple going initially. You can use Crumples in a variety of other disciplines, so you could use it for as a coal extender for your Bowdrill kit. You could crumble it up in a nest, you could put it in the actual V of the Bowdrill to ignite it. In terms of crumbling it up, you can even use a flint and steel to put the sparks in the right place and get a Crumple going. But if you've got a fire steel, it's probably the easiest way. So there are a variety of ways in which you can put the spark into the Crumple. You may want to hold it like this, so you're facing into the concentric lines of the Crumple and putting the sparks onto it. And you can pretty much ignite the Crumple quite easily like that. I'll leave that burning away there for a while. I've got another piece over here. I mean, you could even hold the fire steel at a distance and put the sparks on it from a distance, for which you want to drag the fire steel away from you, and see everything's blowing all over the place. We had a little ember there, but it didn't stick around for too long. So that's another method of doing it. You can, even if you've got a hard surface, put the fire steel fairly close and try and, you know, get the sparks on it that way, which I've just managed to do. I don't know how, because that looked pretty rickety. So there are a few different ways in which you can get the Crumples going. Really, there's probably many other ways as well. It's really just about getting the sparks in the right place and being comfortable and trying not to destroy the Crumple. But if you want to transfer it across to an artist bracket, you really want to take your Crumple before it gets too overcooked, because you'll never be able to pick it up, although you can use leaves to kind of buffer it. You can place the two together, and a good thing to do actually is take your knife, just shave a bit away. Now they get very hard, so you just got to be careful. And what that'll do is just reveal the little sporing pods there, which are the things that ignite the best really on the fungus. You can hold the two together. And just put air in between. So you've got a bit of an ember there. If you want an even bigger one, you can see we're using a lot of that material inside the Crumple. So by breaking it apart, you almost give yourself a little bit more of a different work surface. And that'll just burn nicely, and in a wind like this there'll be no putting it out. So these are just a few funguses really that you can use, and they're great for getting rid of flies if you don't like midges. I think I've heard you mention how much you hate the midges. So you can even get some sphagnum moss and put the Crumple inside, wrap it up, and put this and just leave it somewhere on top of like a stick of hazel or something. And eventually it will burn away, and the moss will actually, when the Crumple's diminished and gone, the moss will still be glowing like one huge ember and producing loads of smoke, and it works really well. So hopefully that covered the Crumple and the artist bracket, and they really are quite an unstoppable pair when it comes to producing reliable embers that won't burn out. But do be careful in high winds, because their life expectancy drops drastically. A few other things one other thing you can use the fire steel for in the kit that I've provided, and that's the birch bark. And like I said, there are two different types of birch bark that I've given you. I've got the same in my kit, so I won't use your supply. But you've got very, very fine paper-like stuff in the centre, and sort of gradually as it goes out it gets thicker and thicker, and that gives you a bit of advantage, because the paper-like stuff requires zero preparation. It ignites from a single spark pretty much most of the time. But the larger stuff might be something you want to add to the fire a bit later, or you can scrape into a dust, or use for a variety of other things. So it's good to have a variation there, but I'll show you how to use that. So I'll move these out of the way. I've got a bit of birch bark here. So if I take the stuff in the centre, like I mentioned earlier, and just show you what this is like. This is like paper, this stuff. Some good sparks, you can see it just took one, and that'll burn really well, and obviously then you add more things to it, and it's a great way of getting a fire going. But you have got some thick stuff too. So you can see we've got some thin sheets on the inside, which is a bit like what we worked with a second ago, but even thinner. But if you don't have those thin sheets, and you want something to work with, a good technique is to scrape, and you do have to be very, very careful. So I've got a little pile there. I'm not going to go too crazy because I'm working in some winds that are a bit irritating for this sort of thing, but hopefully you can see that. So again, a bit like the thin stuff, I can actually get to it. There we go, and that produces a nice flame for you if you scrape it into a dust. You can just use the thin stuff on the outside, but if you are going to make a dust, you want to spend some time making it, and do quite a lot of preparation and get all your thin sticks, your matchsticks ready, like beech and things like that, and you can build quite a decent fire that way. But I'll hang on to that bit. So hopefully that's covered the birch bark side of things, but there is another method in this kit of making fire or producing a spark, and that's the flint and steel. And the flint and steel is great fun, I quite enjoy using the flint and steel, although I use a knife. I use a carbon steel knife and shear off pieces of the knife, usually downward like that, to produce sparks onto a piece of charred material, whether it be charred rotten wood, charred punk wood as they call it, or any other charred material. A lot of different materials work, but one of the favourites is using cotton char cloth, and you know, and it's great fun. It's a good thing to do and a great thing to practice. So what you're going to want to do is just take a piece of charred cotton. Got a little bag here. Just put that back there, and find a nice sharp edge on your piece of flint. You can see there's plenty of sharp edges. I'm going to go for that edge there, and usually give it the thumbs up. Flint goes on, char cloth goes about well, right on the edge really of where you're striking, just like that. And what I'm going to do is tilt this at an angle and bring the steel in at an angle, and what that'll do is shear sparks down onto the char cloth. And instead of going like that action man style, you want to flick with the wrist. And on a good day it takes 1 strike. On a bad day it takes 100. You can see we've put some good sparks on that, and now it's lit. And again, like the Ember from the Bowdrill, that would go into a tinder bundle of fine material in the core, maybe some bulkier stuff on the outside, and the whole thing could ignite and produce a fire for you. So as long as you've got 100% cotton in a little tin, you can make this stuff. And as I say, you can char a variety of materials, and you know, they all work really well. So I hope you like your kit. I hope you know, you're happy with this. It's quite a nice little fire setup, and yeah, it should give you some great fun into the fire starting realm of bushcraft. So yeah, this will be out to you as soon as you give me your address, because you probably didn't know I was doing this video.